Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Mr. Greer, and today we're talking about finding a percent of change. Now, finding a percent of change may not necessarily be something that you'll find yourself doing in the real world on a regular basis. It's not like when you're trying to figure out what a sale is going to be. Hey, I got this $50 shirt, it's 25% off. How much would I be paying? That's kind of the stuff we were doing last week and in the last video. But this is more about figuring out just what that percent is. So say you already know that the shirt used to cost $50, and then all of a sudden it's going to cost you $25. And someone says, man, I wonder what percent off that was. Well, that's called finding a percent of change. And that's pretty much what we're going to learn how to do today. So really quick, and I'm gonna remember my shirt example that I gave was the shirt was $50, and then you ended up paying $25 for it, right? That was what I had said. $50, paying 25. So I'll try to remember that. All right. But for now, let's take a look at these examples. So example one, it says the price of a jacket has dropped from $30 to $24. By what percent did the price drop? There's 3 steps to doing this. The first step is you want to figure out the amount of change in price. To do that, you're going to subtract the new price from the old price. So the old price was $30, and they subtract $24 from it. That's the new price, to show that the rate of change in price was $6, that it was $6 cheaper. So once you figure that out, once you finish step 1, finding the amount of change in price, now you're going to make a fraction with the change over the original price and reduce that fraction. So here they had the original price was $60. The change in price after subtracting the new price was $6. So you're going to put $6 over $30. The rate of change over the original price. So $6 over $30. Then you're going to reduce. And it looks like they reduced using the number 6 because 6 goes into 6 one time and 6 goes into 35 times. So that gets you the fraction 1/5. Now you're going to change 1/5 to a percent, right? And so when you change the fraction to a percent, it becomes 20%. So I'm going to show you something that is going to help you when it gets down to this part. For some of the fractions, not all of them. It's on page 109. Now, if you remember, page 109 was infamous because it had the word shortcut on it, and I don't like that word. But 109 actually gives you some common fractions that you could use. So, like right here, it says 50%, 1/2. So 1/2 is 50%, 1/3 is 33 1/3%, 1/4 is 25%, 1/5 is 20%, 1/6 is 16 2/3%, 1/8 is 12.5%, and 1/10 is 10%. So that answer was 1/5, right? And then you look up and up, there's 20%. So this could help you out when you get to that point on 109 if you need it. All right? But let's get back to brass tacks here, as they would say. And I just made a big old mess. Hang on. I could edit this out, If I knew how to edit, I could edit this mistake out. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm just a human. All right. So let's take a look at the next example. As I have on my phone. So there we go. Here's another example. Example 2. The number of students in Maria's evening Spanish class went from 16 when the class began to 20 1 month later. By what percent did the number of students change? So again, you got to find the amount of change first. So it was 20 amount of change, right? So you got to do a subtraction. All right? And we're going to subtract 20 minus 16. We're not doing 16 minus 20 because that's going to get us like an odd number, a decimal. It's going to get us a weird number, right? We want to subtract. So take the larger number and then subtract it by the smaller number to get the rate of change, okay? So I know up here 30 was first and then 24, and we did 30 minus 24. Here 16 is first, and then we have the 20, but we want to do 20 minus 16 because we want to get the number, we want to find the rate of change. 20 minus 16 equals 4. That's our rate of change. Once you find that out, the amount of change, make a fraction with the change over the original. Make a fraction, the change over the original, and then reduce. Here it looks like they used the number 4. 4 can go into 4 one time. 4 can go into 16 4 times. Your answer is 1/4. Then from there, change 1/4 to a percent. 1/4 equals 25%. All right, and then you can use page 109. That'll give you that fraction because it's a pretty easy fraction to remember. Or you can do your division, which shouldn't be too difficult, okay? But how about my problem? What about when I was talking about that shirt? Well, let's take a look. I said that the shirt that I wanted to buy, and I'm just going to call this Mr. G example. Okay. So I said that that shirt cost $50 originally. But I paid, I always get confused of which paid to use. If this is the wrong paid, then use the other paid. But I paid, let's try 35 instead of 25. So I paid $35 for it. So let's figure out how many percents was off, okay? Sorry for the tongue twisting there. So it originally cost 50, it only cost me 35, and what percent off did I get? So the first thing is, we got to figure out the change in the price. So that would be 50 minus 35 to figure out the change in price. All right? Step 1, find out the change in price. So I'm going to have to borrow from this 5 here. And then 10 minus 5 is 5. And then 4 minus 3 is 1. So the change in price was $15. That's the change in price. All right? So let me write this down here. Step 1, find the change in price. So now I'm going to take my 15, the change in price, and put it over the original price. That's step 2. So step 2, put the change in price over the original price. Put the change in price over the original price. So I'm going to put 15 over 50. 15 was the change in price. 50 is the original price. Now I'm going to reduce. What could I reduce by? It's 15 and 50. It ends in 5, 0, right? So we know we could go by 5 if we really needed to. Can we go more than 5? 10's not going to work. And I don't think 15 goes into 50 evenly. I'll double check though. 50 divided by 15. I don't think so. It does not. So let's just use 5. All right. So if I'm going to reduce by 5, 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 50 divided by 5 is 10. So 3/10 is what we end up with here. 3/10. So step 3 is to turn this into a percent. So I'm going to write step 3, turn the fraction into a percent. All right? So how do we do that? You know how we do that. We're going to divide. So 3 divided by 10. 3 divided by 10. All right, 10 can't go into 3, so I'm going to need to add a decimal. I'm going to bring it up. And now I can add some zeros. 10 goes into 30 3 times. Ten times 30 is 30. Do my subtraction. Yep, it's perfect. I need to turn this into a percent now by moving the decimal to the right 2 spaces. 1, 2. And then fill in that 0. So the answer is 30%. It was supposed to cost 50 bucks. I only paid 35. That was a 30% off sale of the price. Just like here, jacket cost 30 bucks, but they paid 24 bucks. That was 20% off sale. Or the students, there were 20 students. Well, it started with 16, then it became 20 students. That means there was a 25% increase in students. Now, I want you to turn to page 117 because that's where all this stuff is. Page 117. And we're going to go through a couple of the word problems. And they ask questions. And you'll see why. It'll make it a little bit easier of a way to think about the work. Okay? So number 1 says a high definition TV that originally sold for $380 was on sale for $285. Okay? And there's some things you should be asking yourself. Again, this is page 117, number 1. First question is, how much did the price of the TV change? Well, from $380 to $285, we're going to have to do some subtracting, right? Okay. So to answer letter A, 380 minus 285. Okay. We'll need to borrow. Need to borrow again. 8 minus 17 is 9. 2 minus 2 is 0. So it's a $95 change in price. So for A, how much did the price, did the TV change? It changed by 95 bucks. Right? Okay. So B asked, well, what was the original price of the TV? We know that. It was $380. Okay. Question C. Make a fraction with the change in price over the original price, then reduce. Okay. So let's make that fraction. As soon as my camera behaves itself. There we go. So the change, 95, over the original price, 380. That's our fraction. Now we can reduce. It's 0 and 5 again, right? So 5 would definitely work, but I wonder if something bigger could work. 10 wouldn't work. 25 wouldn't work. I don't think 15 would work. Let me play around here with my handy dandy calculator because I'm lazy. So 95 divided by 15. I wonder if that would work out okay. Nope. 95 divided by, I don't know, 35. Nope. I wonder if I did 95 or did 380 divided by 95. Let's see what I got here. Oh. Well, it looks like 95 can go into 380. So let's use 95. And that was just me playing around with my calculator, right? 95 goes into 95 one time. 95 goes into 380 four times. So our fraction now is 1/4. We need to turn that into a percent. And 1/4 equals 25%. So that's D. That's D. So I'm gonna I'll put a D here with an arrow. There we go. All right. So the high definition TV, it was originally $380. It sold for $285. This was the rate of change. You put the change rate over top of the original cost, reduce it, and then turn that reduction into a percentage. All right, let's try that some more. Let's flip the page over to page 118. Page 118. Okay. Page 118, and that puts us at number 2. Now, number 2, as you can see, number 2 is going to ask the same questions, right? But eventually, you're going to have to learn how to do these on your own, okay? And I'll leave that for homework for you guys later on to finish up what I don't do in the video for the week. So let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, number 2 on page 118, it says, when Miguel started working at Acme Plastics, I wonder if he ever met Wile E. Coyote there. Anyways, while Miguel started working at Acme Plastics, there were 80 full-time employees. 2 years later, there were 104 full-time employees at the factory. So the first question is, by how many did the number of full-time employees increase? This is asking for the rate of change. How much did it change? So remember, we're doing change. We want a whole number answer, right? So what I'm going to do is take the larger number and subtract it by the smaller number. So 104 minus 80. Alrighty, so 0 minus 4 is still 4. 10 minus 8 is, well, 0 minus 8, we can't do that, we borrow, so 10 minus 8 is 2, right? So 24. So, by how many did the number of full-time employees increase? It increased by 24 employees. Letter B is asking, what was the original number of employees when Miguel started working at Acme? Letter B, the original amount was 80. The original amount was 80. C tells us to make a fraction with the increase over the original number of employees. So the increase, which was 24, over the original number, which was 80. All right. Now we need to reduce this to make our lives a little bit easier. 24, 80, both of these are even numbers, which means you could probably use 2 easily. But I'm thinking, I wonder if 12 would work. I'm just going to play around with it, right? Use my calculator. And let's see, 80 divided by 12. Would that even work? Nope. How about 80 divided by 4? Would that work? Okay. 80 divided by 24? I doubt it. Now that doesn't work either. How about 80 divided by 6? Nope. So it looks like 4 is going to be the number, doesn't it? Okay, that's fine. So 4 can go into 24 and 80. 24 divided by 4 is going to be 6. And 80 divided by 4 is going to be 20. 6 over 20. They're two even numbers. I think we can go further. So how about we try 2? Let's try 2. Because they're both even numbers. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 20 divided by 2 is 10. That means I should have used the number 8, doesn't it? Because 4 times 2 is 8. Let's just see that. For shits and giggles, let's see. 24, and if I reduce by 8, yep, 24. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 8 goes into 80 10 times. I didn't go big enough. So hopefully some of you figured out it was 8. But if you did 4, we could still keep going further, right? So 310 is our fraction. And now we need to change this fraction into a percentage. Okay? So we know how to do that. Again, 3 divided by 10. Okay, 10 can't go in a 3, so I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal and bring my decimal up in the right spot. Now I can add some zeros. 10 can go into 30 3 times. 10 times 30 is 30. Do my subtraction. Now, there's a decimal. I need to turn this into a percentage by moving the decimal over 2 spaces to the right. So my answer is 30%. So Acme started off with 80 employees. They ended up with 104 employees, which gave us a rate of change of 24. The rate of change over the original number, which is 80, gets us the fraction 24 over 80. We reduce it all the way. That takes us to 3/10. Then we turn this into a percentage by dividing and then moving the decimal place over 2 spaces. It increased by 30%. Let's do one more, and then I'll let you guys work on 4 or 5, work on the rest of the page, and we'll discuss it tomorrow. So let's do number 3. So number 3 talks about a woman named Anna's weekly salary. Again, we're on page 118. Anna's weekly salary was $800. Her weekly salary was $800. To spend more time with her children, she decided to work part-time. Now her weekly salary will be $632. So this was the original, right? 800. $632 became the new. So originally she was making 800. She decided to work part-time, went down to 632. And they're saying, okay, by what percent did her salary decrease? They want to know by what percent. So first we got to find the change, right? And to do that, we take the original, well, we take the larger number and subtract it by the smaller number. Okay? 800 is a larger number, and we're going to subtract by the smaller number. All right? So it looks like I do a bunch of borrowing here because I can't take 2 from 0. And I can't borrow from here. Up, I can borrow here. So let's borrow 1 from this 8. Then I got to borrow from that new 10. Okay, here we go. Now we can work. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 3 is 6. And then 7 minus 6 is 1. So the rate of change is $168. Next thing we're going to do is take this number and put it over top of the original number. Not the larger number, not the second number, not the first number, the original number, the original amount of money that she was making, okay? So the original amount of money she was making was $800. So I'm going to take this 168 and put it over top of $800. The rate of change over top of the original number. Now we can try to reduce this. I'm looking at this. These are some big numbers. I really think we can get something. I think we can work with this. Let's try 168. Let's try dividing these numbers by some other stuff. So maybe 168 divided by maybe 16 will work. Nope. 24. Ooh, 24 works for 168. Let's see if 24 goes in 800. It does not. So 24 is not going to work. All right. Let's try 8. 168 divided by 8. All right. Okay, so let's try 8 then. I wanted to go bigger. Maybe I can, but let's give this a shot. Again, I'm just playing around the calculator, trying to figure out what number can go into both. So 8 goes in 168 21 times. And 8 goes into 800 100 times. 21 over 100. I don't see us being able to do much with that because, yeah, you can't really do anything with that because the only numbers that goes into 21 would be 7 and 3. Nothing else really goes into 21. And 100, of course, it needs to be either a 10 or a 5 or something of that nature, right? So I think 21 over 100. Now we need to turn this into a percent. And since this number is over top of 100, you could automatically say it's going to be 21% because it's 21 out of 100, and percents are always done in hundreds. So the answer is going to be 21%. But just to double make sure I'm doing my math right, I'll show you mathematically how. 21 divided by 100. All right. 100 can't go into 21, so I'm going to add a decimal. Bring it up. Add a 0. All right. 100 can go into 200 2 times. 2 times 100 is 200. Do my subtraction. Add another 0 and bring it down. 100 can go into 100 1 time. Do my subtraction. There we go. Now we got to turn this into a percent by moving the decimal place over 2 spaces to the right. How about that? 21%. So whenever you see a fraction and the number is over 100, you can basically turn that into the percent because this means 21 out of 100, right? And percents are always done in 100. So say you see something like 5 over 100, it's going to be 5%. If you see 15 over 100, it's going to be 15%. All right, just try to remember that little trick there. If you see it over 100, you can easily just turn that into a percentage, okay? So our answer is 21% for number 3. All right, so that's how you find the rate of change. It's 4 steps. You find out what the original number is, what the new number is, and then you want to find out the rate of change by subtracting, putting the large number on top, the small number on the bottom, and get your rate of change. Then you put this rate of change over top of the original number, the original number, the original number. After you do that, you do some reducing, get your fraction, turn your fraction into a percent. Don't forget that page 109 has those shortcuts. I'm going to write here big words. Page 109 has fraction to percent shortcuts. Page 109 has fraction to percent shortcuts. The way, if you see a fraction that appears a lot of times, you can just look at 109. It'll tell you what the percent's going to be pretty quickly. All right. So hopefully that's helped out. Like I said, for homework for this week, or one of the homework assignments this week, I'd like you to finish page 118. Do your best with the information. And when I see you guys, we're going to talk about finding a number when a percent is given. We're going to talk about that tomorrow during our Zoom session. We're going to talk about that tomorrow during our Zoom session. We are at the very tail end here of the percent piece, by the way. I believe on Thursday we'll probably start the final steps of percent work. And then from there, next week is our last week together. And we'll be talking about some area and perimeter type work. Okay? So I'll talk to everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow at 6. And hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Feel free to give me a text. Feel free to give me an email. Again, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'll pretty much be checking my phone constantly. I keep it by my hip. I really want you guys to be able to contact me when necessary. Thank you so much, and I will see you all tomorrow at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Bye, guys.